lose the rules of the game. So don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys.
Some men just want to watch the world burn. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to You Don't Own Me. By round of applause, are you ready for a night of groundbreaking observational comedy? Are you ready to break the rules? Well, go home. But if you're ready for a night of average observations that will relate to you in some way, shape or form, then make some noise and welcome to the stage, Luke Kidgell! Welcome to chapter 44 of Memoirs of a White Guy. Just Memoirs of a White Guy this week. We're back to day one. There's no long, convoluted, intro. It's not a unique name to the title. I'm just white and I know it. And what you just heard then, what you guys were just listening to was the intro to my show, to my You Don't Own Me show. I was walking out to that kind of intro track at every single show on the tour. You would have already known that if you came to a show, but I thought I'd put that in there for the international people who couldn't make it this year to the tour. I realised, I haven't actually listened to it for a while, but I realised it probably sounds really lame when you're just listening to it in your headphones, because at one point in the intro I say, by round of applause, and you're probably sitting there in your bedroom or on a bus or somewhere listening to this podcast, and you're like, no, I'm not applauding your shitty call and response, Luke. And so that would have sounded weird in hindsight, but oh well, it's staying in. So that was the intro to the show, and I'll never have to use that again, so I thought I'll just put it in the podcast for just, because some of you are like, what are your shows like? Well, that's what the first minute is like. It's just the stage is blacked out, there's a microphone, and you're listening to that over a PA, and then I walk on and tell some sick dick jokes for an hour. So that's pretty much what the show's like. Now, we have to probably tie up a few loose ends from last week's live podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who came out. I had some really good feedback during the week. You guys enjoyed listening to that. That's what I was worried about. I was worried about it being fun when you're there, but it'd be shit listening to, at home. But I think it was alright, except for Lewis's mic not being on. That definitely sucked hard to listen to. But I'm sorry about that. I'm not sorry. I should have got Lewis to come on and make a formal apology. Oh, I turned the mic. Why would you turn the mic off? It's a podcast. If if there's one thing that should be on in a podcast, it's the microphone, or else there is no podcast. But he's like, yeah, you know what? I'll just turn it off for a bit. Fucking, oh my god. Anyway, thank you very much to Lewis for helping me co-host it. But that was a really fun day. And the loose ends I had to tie up was so many people. A few people actually not believing that Peter Pigeon came and that we got the interview. Oh, some people are fucking deluded, aren't they? I don't know how to tell you. It was the best moment of my life. It happened and you weren't there. I get it. I get why people are saying that because, it's fear of missing out. It's FOMO, as they call it, as the cool young kids call it on the net. People are jealous. So then they're like, no, he didn't come. It didn't sound like he came. It sounded like you just told everyone to go along with it. Do you think I'm that low, firstly? And mate, you're just jealous. Everyone who was there, it blew their minds too. Go ask him. Go put it in the Memoirs of a White Guy Facebook group. Everyone in there, there's a few people in that group that were obviously, or most of the people actually who were there on the day are in that Facebook group. So, you know what? It happened and, too bad, you missed out. Now, the second thing I have to address before I move on, don't worry, I'm not going to talk about this for half an hour like the other podcasts. The interview. We got the interview with Peter Pigeon, but I said I would release it when I think the time is right, when I feel that the world is ready for Peter Pigeon's wisdom and glory that he offers in that interview. And is that today? we'll find out at the end of the podcast. But so I'm gonna move on now. So today was actually supposed to be a guest episode. I was like, after the live one, I'll have a week off and I'll do a guest episode of the podcast. Because I still have I recorded a few guest episodes with people in different states on my tour. So I've still got a few of those ready to put out. But that'll be actually next week. It'll be with Dom from Collective Noun. I recorded it at the Hit 105 Studios in Brisbane, which is like whatever their version of the Fox is or Today FM is in Sydney or whatever. So that was really cool. And but this week, the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because I've had so much stuff, like so much pent-up rage, that I think if I didn't do another podcast or if I left it for another week, I'd actually explode. Like, so many things have pissed off my little white boy mind and my cozy, affluent lifestyle that I like it, because everyone knows this is like a weekly therapy session for me that you guys just get to listen to for your entertainment. But like, if I seriously wait another week, I'm gonna like do something that I regret. Like, I'm probably gonna explode, but I'm more likely to just like yell at my mum or do something like real domestic-y. Like, I'll be on the news just like, you know, the Melbourne comedian or Melbourne birdwatcher / comedian, you know, flips out, and people will think it's because of the, you know, the interview with Peter. But it's not. It's because I went to the Apple store 3 weeks ago and I'm still fucking raging from it. So, now I've spoken about the Apple store a lot on this podcast, and I didn't want to really talk about it. That's kind of why I tried suppressing it for 3 weeks, but I just can't. I mean, I've never been honestly so angry. Like, it actually kind of scared me a bit from myself. I was like, I didn't know I could get that angry. Like, I consider myself as like a pretty chill guy, pretty easygoing, but as soon as I fucking walk in that store and get greeted by some fuckhead with an iPad, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is why I hate everything, and this is why I have a podcast to complain about it on it. So 3 weeks ago, this is actually probably more than 3. No, it's about 3 weeks ago, I bought a new MacBook. I bought one of the new MacBooks with the touch bar. It's great because my old MacBook Air was running really slow and it was making me very unproductive. It took me hours to edit videos. Like, it took me like 5 hours to edit a video that was about 30 seconds. Like, no, it should have taken about maybe half an hour. It was about a 30-second video. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. So I begrudgingly kind of made my way into the Apple store. And do you know how expensive their shit has gotten? Like, I paid about $1,500 for my previous computer. The one I pay for now is double. Like, just, it's double, and it's a bit, like, I will admit, it's a little bit of a better computer, but they've also just, like, put their prices up, probably like 30%. I mean, as if it wasn't bullshit enough. You're like, oh, we're only making like billions and billions a day. Maybe we could make fucking trillions. And like, and you know what? I'm so stupid that I keep buying their shit. Anyway, so I go in there and I talk to the fucking dude, and the dude in the Apple store was actually great. Usually I'm like raging at the staff there. Well, the first dude I had was great, right? Actually, no, the second girl was nice too, but I just have one complaint about her. So the first dude, I was like talking to him, I was like, this is the one I want. It's the one with all the big hard, like, I'm pretty much getting the big fuck off MacBook, and I'm like, yep, it's got like all the hard drive space. I want this one. I'm doing video editing on it. And he's like, yep. And then I was like, there's one computer in my model that's better than mine, right? And I was like to the dude, hey, is it worth the money if I go up? And to the guy's credit, he was like, nah, I'll be honest, it's not worth the money, because the other one's like another $1,000. And he's like, and I was like, oh, as if he actually told me that. Like, if I was the dude and I was getting paid on commission, I'd be like, yeah, man, the one that's worth 1,000 more is worth way more. But to his credit, he said no. I was like, all right, cool. So there was oh yeah, so I was like, yep, I'm gonna buy it now. Like, I'd been like kind of psyching myself up to do it. You know when you have to spend a whole bunch of money that you worked really hard for? Like, you know, it was like all the fucking money, like, from my shows and stuff, you know, I've been spent on equipment. And I was just like, I've already bought a new camera, a new everything, and I was like, oh, I've got to buy one more thing, and then I'm done. So this is pretty much all the leftover money I had from my shows, and I was about to drop it on a thing that's not worth, like, that much money. It's probably worth about a quarter of the money, and I know that, and some poor little Chinese kid has like his fingers have bled on the keyboard, but they've just put it through like a washer, and I'm like, yeah, he didn't get paid, $3,000 to make this, so why am I paying that much? And I was like, alright, so I psyched myself up, and I was like, fine, one final purchase, I transferred the money to my account, I'm like, I'm doing it, I'm buying this fucking laptop. So I walk in the store, and I'm so angry right now. I just realized I should have done half an hour of meditation before I hit record, but I've come in real hot today. But anyway, so I'm in the store and I'm just about to buy it, and the dude's like, hey, so are you a student or are you studying at the moment? And I was like, oh no, I'm a full-time dickhead. And he's like, oh, okay, do you know anyone who's a student? I was like, yeah, my brother is. And he's like, oh, well, you can get this discount if you go student. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's good. And I was like, glad he told me, and that's cool of him. But I was like, oh, he's not here, do you need the student card? And he's like, yeah. So then I was like, alright, cool. And I'd psyched myself up all the way to buy it, and then I had to drive home, and then it got too late, and my brother was like, alright, I'll come in with you tomorrow. So the next day, I'll go back in. So now I'm twice as angry. I've psyched myself up again that I've got to buy this stupid laptop, and I spend every cent I own. And my brother comes in, and I talk to a new guy, and I try to get the dude from yesterday's attention. I was like, hey man, I was here, and he didn't even fucking remember me. And I don't know why I thought he would. It's just there's so many people in that store at once. It's like a 50-50 ratio of staff members to people in the store, but they just employ 100 staff members. Actually, I asked the girl, but we're not up to that yet. So I start talking to this other girl, right? And she's like, oh, what can I help you with? I was like, oh, yesterday I came in, looked for this computer. And then she started telling me about the computer again. And I'm like, I know about the fucking computer. I was in here yesterday. I'm here to get a discount. I'm just going to buy it now. I'm like, you just bag it up, and then I want to leave. I want to leave so I can cry myself to sleep at home. And then she's like, all right, cool. And then she got her little FBOS machine out. Jack showed his student card. I got the discount, and on their stupid things that they use to process the payment, because there's no kiosk in the store. You just pay it on a portable FBOS machine, right? And I was like, okay, and it's taking ages to process. So she's trying to distract me from the fact that I'm spending my entire life savings on this stupid pretty looking computer. And she knows I can't afford this. She's looking at me, I'm wearing trackies and a hoodie. She's like, you can't afford this shit, so I'm gonna try and distract you from your pain. So then she starts going, so what do you do? And like a dickhead, I actually told her what I do. Usually when people ask me, oh, what do you do? I just say because it's work. As soon as you say I'm a stand-up comedian, they go, oh, really? That's interesting. You don't get that often. And they go, do you get scared? Do you get scared? What happens if you bomb? Wait, can you tell me a joke? Tell us a joke. Tell us a joke. So I'm just I never tell people. I'm usually just oh, I'm studying, or I just make something up, whatever. That's something, realistic that, someone my age could be doing. Oh, I just hit bongs and I'm a fucking dead shit. That's what most people my age do. So I was like, alright, and for some reason I was like, oh, I do a bit of comedy. Oh, it's because I'd already talked about it with her. She's like, what are you going to be using the laptop for? I was like, video editing. And then she was like, oh, what kind of videos are you making? And I was like, oh, funny internet videos. And then I was like, why the fuck did I say that? And then she looked up my page, because she had my name. So then she goes, oh, you on Facebook? And I was like, oh, yeah. And then right on the spot, she just gets out her iPhone, obviously, because she works in the Apple store. She just starts looking it up. And she's like, oh my god, you have 200,000 likes. I'm in the presence of someone famous. I was like, shut the fuck up and pass me my computer, please. And then she starts watching my You Don't Own Me video out loud in the store. And I'm like, this is the douchiest thing I've done all week. I'm watching someone watch my video, and it looks like I've told her to look at it. I haven't. And my brother's sitting there just laughing his ass off because he's that's funny because it's not happening to him. So he's laughing, he's having a great time because I look like a douchebag. And she's like, oh my god, this is so good. I've seen this video before. But you're on Lad Bible. Oh my god, do you get recognized? I'm in the presence. She starts calling over people in the store this guy's famous. And I'm like, shut the fuck up and let me buy my computer, please, and then let me leave. So the thing's still processing, the payment's still processing, and she's like, oh, so do you do like stand-up comedy? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, like at the comedy festival? And I was like, yeah, I just did a show this year. She's like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't see you. I did go see a couple of shows though. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you didn't know who I was until you stalked me right in front of me then. So why are you... Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, whatever, just, is this... And she's like, alright, the payment's done. And then I was like, cool. And she's like, now, before we go... And I was like, oh my god. And then she just starts telling me all this information that I already know, because I'm like, I've read the website. I know all this shit about the computer. She's like, now this is your Thunderbolt cable. Oh, this is nothing. I'm going to get into this in a second. This is going to be the whole podcast at this rate. And I was like, alright, she starts telling me shit. And I hate it when people at stores do that. Like, they just tell you shit that they read off the website. You're like, I can fucking read. It's almost insulting that you don't think I can look at that myself. Anyway, so she hands me a thing. She's like, now this one's got a Thunderbolt cable. And for some reason, I was supposed to get this stupid adapter, because if you don't know, on the new MacBooks, there's no USB plug-in. There's no SD card. There's no charging port. All there is, well, there's a charging port, but there's 4 inputs that are just these Thunderbolt inputs, right? So it's this new type of cord that Apple have, obviously, because they make you buy the new shit. So then pretty much what you have to do is buy another $30 adapter to plug in a USB. Like right now, I'm recording this podcast through a USB microphone, but in order to do that, I had to buy a little adapter thing for an extra $29.99, just because... Why should I just put a USB cord on a computer? It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so for some reason I didn't think of that on the spot, so I left. I wanted to get out of there. She was still watching my videos, so I was like, thanks, bye, and I just walked out. And then I went home, and I got home, and I went to plug in a hard drive into my computer. I was like, fuck! Forgot to get the adapter, and that's what she was telling me in the store. She was actually trying to be helpful, because I'm such an asshole, and in my own head, I just wanted to leave. So I was like, oh my god. So I had to go back the day after. So this is 3 days in a row now. I've had to go into my least favorite store in the world and talk to this dickhead in a blue shirt. And she's like, oh, you're back the next day. I was like, yep. And then she's like, oh, so I'm like, I'm just going to buy this adapter. And she's like, we were talking. And I was like, in fucking hell, I know. And give me the adapter. So I went home and I've got the adapter now and everything's working. But this adapter is so small that I keep losing it. Like before the podcast started, I looked for this adapter for about half an hour, and I've never been so angry in my life. And it's like, I was getting angry at Apple. I was the one who lost the adapter. I just put it in my camera bag and forgot about it. It's totally my fault. Because I'm such an asshole, and that I need like a scapegoat, because nothing can ever be my fault. I just start... Under my breath, I'm just raging at Apple like a maniac. It was just happened half an hour ago. I'm just tearing up my room, throwing shit around, going, where's this fucking adapter? Why do you even need an adapter? I'm looking for a thing that I shouldn't even have to have. So this isn't my fault. And I'm just like, and then I kind of just I found the adapter, and I turned on the podcast, and that's where I'm at. So I'm really sorry. Again, this has been a rant about nothing. This is the most privileged white boy shit you would have ever heard, because really what I'm mad at is myself. I'm mad that I didn't know about the concession card thing. Like, I'm mad that when I got there, like, I told her that I was committing every mistake in this story. Everything that went wrong was my fault, 100%. But I just want to take it out on a massive corporation, because fuck them, they took like $3,000 from me. Actually, no, they took more. I'm not done, actually. I had to go home. Right, so I've been using a pirated version of Final Cut Pro, the editing software, for like 2 years now, and it's been really slow, because it's a dodgy version. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend $500 more and buy the actual program off the App Store. And I did. $500. And this is how poor I am, right? For the next 2 days after I bought this software off the App Store, my bank was calling me, going like, hey, we have like a weird purchase on your account. Can you confirm that you bought this, thing off the iTunes store? And I was like, yeah, I did. And they were like, are you sure? Like, I spoke to the lady, and she's like, I'm looking at the money in your account. And she just, pretty much, I'm so poor that not even my bank thinks I can afford this shit. Like, I couldn't convince them. Do you know how long it took me to convince them that I made the purchase? They were going to shut off my account because they just didn't believe me. They were like, I don't think you'd buy something like this. There's no previous purchases. I was like, I just bought a Mac. You can see that I went to the Apple Store 2 days ago, and then I bought software to go with the new Mac. And they were like, I don't know, it kind of checks out. I was like, of course that checks out. You think I want to be spending $2,500? No, not at all. I mean, you know what? If they had shut off my bank account, I would have called Apple and asked for a refund. Again, not their fault. Not their fault at all. They just charge way too much for their software, so then my bank thinks it's fraudulent activity. It's not. I'm just poor, and I buy dumb shit. Anyway, so that's, oh my god, we're 20 minutes in, and now I just sound like a psychopath. Because, see, this is what I mean. This is why I had to do this podcast this week. If I'd have left this for another week, oh man, I'd be in jail. There wouldn't be another podcast next week. I'm not done, okay? I'm done with the Apple shit. I'm so mad about that. This is another thing that happened during the week. Okay, so you know what's been happening? The little things have been pissing me off this week. Like, so I went out for dinner with a few friends. And, who would have thought I have friends who's friends with the angry guy? Anyway, so I finished the end of my Parma again because I'm white and that's all I buy at restaurants is a Parma. Because as I've said in this podcast, I feel the need to try the Parma everywhere I go. Like, I went out, and the next night I went out with Emily, my girlfriend. We went out for dinner, and I was just like, I had a Parma the night before, and I was like, oh, I need to have a Parma again. She's like, you had a Parma last night. And I was like, I know. And then I did get a Souvlaki, but it was shit, and now I regret not getting the Parma. Anyway, my pet hate with going out for dinner is, right at the end, like, you've got, like, a couple of scraps of lettuce and, like, a bit of, like, some, you know, the sauce left from the thing. Like, I've eaten the whole meal. My knife and fork is in the center of the plate. I'm done. That signifies I'm done. And waiters always come up with you to, you're like, you know, there's scraps on the plate. That's it. And they're like, oh, do you want me to take that? Like, yes, I want you to take that. That's why I put my cutlery in the form. And that's why I'm sitting back in my chair and allowing you to grab it. Like, what do you mean? What they're really asking is, like, look at the plate. There's a bit of lettuce. There's a crumb. There's the crumb from the chicken schnitzel and some Napoli sauce. What they're really asking is, hey, are you gonna lick that? No, I'm not gonna lick that. So take it away, please. God, I mean, I know they're just trying to be polite, but just take it. I mean, I bet you there's one fuckhead who, when, like, you know, they haven't asked in the past and they've gone to take it, and some guy's like, hey, I paid for that schnitzel crumb, excuse me, I'm still going. I bet, yeah, that's probably why they have to ask, because there's dickheads, and that dickhead would have used a coupon as well. You know those, man. I don't know why I'm angry now. I'm just angry at anything. What's another thing I wanted to talk about? God, do you want me to take that? Yes. Oh my god, I never want to be a waiter. I mean, I've never done it, because my job's so sick at the golf club. I don't have to talk to people. I don't have to ask them dumbass questions that I know the answer to. I just put my headphones in and, you know, listen to tunes. It's sick. So yeah, like, I've been trying to, okay, before I get into that, I need to rant about one more thing. And this one more thing isn't really a rant. It's more just like, I'm really scared. So I've been sending off all the merch this week to the post office, and you've got to, like, put it in parcels, and the posters go in tubes. And you know, because lots of you have been buying merch, I've been going to the post office fairly regularly with, like, you go in with, like, a basket of shit. I do, like, a basket load at a time, and you have to get, like, you can put the parcels in the letterbox outside, but then you don't get, like, the tracking, like, or you know, they put the phone number in. I don't know how it works, but, like, if there's a phone number in the order, they put it and it starts getting tracked, whatever. So I usually go in just to make sure you guys get your stuff. So I go in and get it processed individually, and they have to process the tubes anyway. You can't put them in, like, a letterbox or anything. So I was like, all right, I have to go in, and the lady at my local post office is a fucking bitch. Like, I'm sorry, I don't bag random people often, but except for everyone this week on the podcast. But this lady, oh my god, she acts like there is 3 pineapples up her asshole all the time, but she acts like she put them there. Like, she's so rude. Like, she's the rudest person I've ever met. And look, I don't think she'll hear this podcast. I mean, I don't think she listens to underground Australian comedy podcasts where people, I don't think she listens to white boys. I mean, she probably wouldn't listen to this because she hates white boys, apparently. Man, she hates my guts. And I don't know if it's because I walk in with a basket, but I've been in there before to, like, do my car rego and stuff, and she hates me then. So I went in, like, 3 times in a row, and, the first time, she was really rude to me, and she was, like, this is kind of, like, what I mean. I'll describe it. I'm like, hey, I've just got to post these, and she's like, go on then, fine. And then she's like, put them up on the desk, please. And I was like, alright. I'm like, she could have been like, oh, no worries, just put them up on the desk. But instead, she's like, fine, put it, like, why do you say fine? That's just really rude. Like, the tone she speaks in is rude. I was like, alright. And she starts scanning them. She's like, so do you have a tracking number for these? And I was like, no. She's like, do you want them? I was like, yes. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is your job. Me coming in is keeping you employed. You work at a post office. You work for the Australian Postal Service. You guys are going out of business anyway, okay? You should be thankful that I'm in here with my little packages, alright? And she's like, oh, gotta put them into the computer. I hate that when you go to a place and the person like behind the counter gets mad at you because you make them do their job. Quit. Like, if you hate it that much, quit. I don't care. Like, I'll watch you walk out and I'll wait for the next person to come in who's gonna do it properly. Okay, and then she starts scanning them. She's like, alright, and then I pull out the tubes with the posters in it. She thought she was done, so she's like, alright, that's gonna be this, how many dollars? And I was like, great. I'm like, oh, and these tubes? She's like, oh. She was like, you've got to weigh them. And I was like, yeah, I know. There's scales right there. And she was like, well, can you do it? And I was like, yeah. And I was weighing them. And I was looking at what it was coming out, like what the weight was on the scale. And she didn't believe me because it was facing me. And I was like, oh, that's 153. Oh, it wasn't that much. It was like 100 something. I don't know how much a tube, but it was like 153 grams. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, why the fuck would I lie about that? And she's like, yeah, and then she walked around the counter and she was like, okay, I'll put that through. And she put it through and she's like, oh, have you got anything else? And then she accused me of not listening to her, and I was like, oh, she said at the end, like, this is going to be so much. And I was like, wait, why is it that much? These are prepaid. And she was like, I asked you that at the start. No, you didn't. You didn't ask me that at the start. This is a direct thing of what happened at the start. You said, oh, fine, put them up on the desk. You didn't ask me shit. Don't accuse me of not listening just because you've got 3 pineapples up your butthole. Anyway, and I didn't say all that, obviously, because I'm a pussy. And I went there 3 times in a row. And I went home and told Emily this story. I'm like, oh man, I got bullied at the post office today. And Emily's like, no, she can't have been that rude. So then I had heaps the next day. So then Emily came in. So we were going somewhere. She was with me. She came in and we were like putting them up on the desk together. And then I walked over. I could have gone with there's one nice girl who works there and there's the bitch old lady. And I was like, I could go. So I went with the bitch lady just to prove to Emily that she's a bitch. And then Emily realized straight away, as soon as the bitch lady opened her mouth again, I could see it in Emily's face. She was like, oh fuck, this is the one he was talking about. And then she walks out and Emily's like, yeah, you're right. She's a fucking cow. I was like, see? Like, I hate it when no one believes you. Anyway, so I came in the 3rd day. I was like, alright, I'll try one more time. If she's rude to me, fuck it, I'm going to another post office. And she was just rude again, same shit. She's like, oh, when I put them up on the desk. And I was like, fucking, this is your one job. Like, also, and I was like, she's like 50. And I was like, how do you wind up working in the post office when you're 50? I mean, I know, like, look, lots of people have jobs like that. But just fuck that. I couldn't do that to myself, man. Like, if I found myself acting like I had exotic spiky fruits up my anus every day, I'd just quit. I'd be like, oh, let's pull that pineapple out and, do something better with my life. Fucking hell. So anyway, so what happened was, I got so scared of her by the end. I was actually fearful every day. And every day, like, I was like at 10 a.m, I was like, I've got to go post the things. But I was dreading it so much that I put it off. And the post office closes at 5 every day to get to 4:30. And I'd be like, oh, I'll just go. So, like, I put it off all day because I didn't want to see her fucking head. And I was like, oh, okay. So what happened was, she honestly just bullied the shit out of me the 3rd time. Like, she was, like, the first time she was rude. Like, the first 2 times she was rude, but the third time she was just mean. Like, mean-spirited. And I was like, dude, your husband must hate your guts. And you must hate him, obviously. Like, this is like, you know what? I should have recommended her. I should have prescribed her with a podcast. I'm like, you should start a podcast and you can get out all your pent-up rage on there, and then you won't take it out on just innocent white boys. And I mean, that's what I do. Man, I'd be like her. If I'd have waited another week to do this podcast, this angry podcast, I would have, I would have became the post office lady. And you don't want that, do ya? So, you know what's fun? I put this on my Snapchat story, right? So what happened, actually, before I get to that, is I had to go to a new post office. I just cracked the shit. So I was like, fuck her. I'm not going to a post office. She's lost a valued customer, and she doesn't care. Obviously, she's just getting paid an hourly rate. But I was like, you know what? I was just so scared of her that I was like, I drove double the distance to the next post office just so I don't have to look at her. How pathetic is that? Just so I don't have to have that exchange with her and so I don't get bullied. I drove double the distance. And it was worth it. There was this Indian guy at the second one, and he was so nice. And he scammed my thing. He's like, have a great day. And I was like, yo, you have a great day. You're a fucking, what a legend. I was just like, and they'll, he acted like he hated his job a little bit. Like, he acted like he had like a little bit of an acorn or like a grape up his butt, which is fine. I could shelve a grape and still be happy, I reckon. And that's exactly what he was doing. He didn't have much up his ass. He was just not happy to be there, but he was content. He's probably gotten laid recently. His marriage is all right. His kids aren't driving him up the wall, and he was happy to be there. I was like, this is great. So from now on, I'm driving double the distance to my house. From my house to post the merch. And heaps of people have been like, hey, man, because I put this on my Snap story, right? I was talking about the post office lady, not in this detail, but I was just saying she was a bitch. And heaps of people like, I will buy merch only if you go to the bitch. People just want me to suffer. People want me to go through hell. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's got the merch. I'm looking at it on my floor still, so I'm really just trying to get rid of it. There is like one small left. I think I found another large actually that can go on sale. There's literally like extra larges and double extra larges left, so I'd love it if you're that size and went and got one. That'd be sweet. That's pretty much it on the merch front. Just go check it out on my website. What do I want to talk about next? I've been trying to be more productive lately, but this is what happens whenever I try and be productive. Like, I set myself like a list of shit that I need to do the next day, and I write it all down. I'm like, yep, I'm going to get all those things done, and it's nearing like 11 p.m, and I'm like, oh, well, that means I've got to go to bed, because I've got to have a good sleep before my big day of productivity. So I get into bed, and then 1 a.m. rolls around, and I'm halfway through a BuzzFeed quiz, just like doing like, what Harry Potter house would you be in? Take the Sorting Hat quiz. And then I get Hufflepuff, which fucks me off even more. Like, I'm like that person. Whenever I do one of those quizzes, I get Hufflepuff. Is that just me? Or is it rigged? Does everyone get Hufflepuff? Like, you know that thing, Pottermore, or whatever, like back in the day, you could choose your house? And like, it's like that virtual Harry Potter website. I just did it to see what house I'd be in. Answered all the questions. That's what bothers me. I answer all the questions honestly. It's like, like they try and they ask you all these personality trait questions, and then it sorts you into what house, either Ravenclaw, Slytherin, Gryffindor, or Hufflepuff. And like,
it is 100% just you. I get Gryffindor every time.
Oh, my brother's just come in. Jack's come in.
I'm Gryffindor like every time.
Do you answer them honestly though?
100%, yeah. I think you're just not that good a person.
No, it just means I'm lame. Like it says like, what do you like to do? And it's like either watch TV or go outside. And I'm like,
like, I have zero interest, so I'll put you in the house as leftover. That's literally what happens.
So I'm in the leftover house.
You're not a shit bloke. You're not Slytherin. You're not smart. You're not Ravenclaw. You're not particularly brave, loyal, or just like a good guy. You just.
But you're none of those things either. You're not courageous. When was the last time that you won in Wizard's chess?
No, but like, if I wanted to be, I could be. Like, if I was in that world, I would be.
No one invited you to come into my room and be on my podcast.
Who has opportunities to be courageous in real life? Like, very minimal chances. The thing is, like, I would be if I had the choice.
I can't leave. So that was, there you go, you just met my brother Jack, who's walking past down the hallways. This is what I have to deal with when I do this shit. I'm ranting about something in my bedroom, and my brother hears me talk about being a Hufflepuff, and then he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm a Gryffindor, look at me. No one gives a shit about your Gryffindor, mate. That's the thing, I always get Hufflepuff. Shut up, he's still yelling at me from down the hall. Yeah, I always get Hufflepuff. I don't know what to do about it. Like, I'm thinking of just lying. Like, here's the thing. I knew, I was like, I bet you I'm going to get Hufflepuff again. But I actually did this quiz the other night. I wasn't joking. I was up at 1 a.m. doing this stupid quiz. And I was like, and for a little bit of me was like, I know I'm going to get Hufflepuff. Maybe I should, like, lie. But that means I'd be lying to myself. And then I could get Gryffindor. I don't even know if I want Gryffindor. I think I'd be happy with Ravenclaw. Honestly. I just don't want Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff, dude, and I put it on my Snapchat that I got Hufflepuff. And all these people are like, what's so bad about Hufflepuff? I get Hufflepuff. Fucking everything. Like, it's a badger. The emblem is a badger. It's the shittest house. They probably suck at Quidditch. And you know who the type of people are who are in Hufflepuff? The post office lady. Actually, no, she's a Slytherin. For sure. She's like Draco's mum. Like, but you know what? I'm so fed up with getting Hufflepuff on those quizzes. So that's how easy my life is. I come on this podcast, and all the things are actually really beneficial that I've complained about today. Like, I bought a new laptop, and, you know, and that's awesome. It means I live in, you know, an affluent first world country. You know, I complain about the post office lady because I'm lucky enough to have people who buy my merch. Like, and I'm complaining about this now because I have nothing else to complain about, so I'm just going to complain that I'm a Hufflepuff. But all these people, like, on Snapchat, they're like, well, what did you want? Like, did you want Gryffindor? Because I think there's a few people who are anti-Gryffindor because it's, like, the house that you typically want to be. So some people like to go against the social norm. Those punk rock wizards, you know what I mean? Like, they want to go against the social norm, and I don't want to be Gryffindor, that's way too mainstream. It's like the indie wizards. You're like, dude, like, for example, yeah, and heaps of indie wizards hit me up, and they were like, what's wrong with being a Hufflepuff, man? You know, we're chill, we just fly under the radar. Like, what house did you want to be in? And, like, I don't really know, to be honest. I wanted to get to the end of the quiz, and then it just says, you're Albus Dumbledore, bitch, and then I just kind of go live my life as a superior wizard. I think that's what I thought was going to happen. Well, that's what I wanted to happen. Or, like, maybe, like, I answer the questions so honestly and so superior to everyone else who's taken that same shit BuzzFeed quiz that day that BuzzFeed just crashes, and then Hagrid bursts out of my computer. He's like, you're a wizard, Luke. And I just go on and live my life. And I ditch comedy. Maybe I become like a comedic wizard. I don't know what I wanted. I just didn't want to be a Hufflepuff. That was my point for all this. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, right, I'm trying to be more productive. Yeah, see, this is why I can't be more productive, because all I think about all day, I just like, you know, I'm like, oh, I'll go do something, you know, I'll go write a new joke. And then I start writing a new joke, and I just go, oh, but I'm still a Hufflepuff. And I just get sad, and then I don't want to leave the house. I'm in a constant state of Hufflepuff depression. Oh man, what has this podcast become? Alright, I'm gonna, my whole point is I'm really trying to stay productive lately. Like, I'm just trying to get shit done. Like this, I've got a new video that came out last night. I'm recording this on the Sunday. See, that's how productive I'm being. I'm recording this a day early, but it'll be up tomorrow on the Monday. And I just dropped a new video, the new series Trending Trash on YouTube. I'm super excited about that. I should have the You Don't Owe Me tour recap, like the tour documentary, up on my channel this week. And I also want to start a new channel. And this is what I wanted you guys to kind of give me some feedback on. Would you guys be interested in me starting a second channel? I'm going to call it, I don't know if I should say what I'm going to call it. I don't know, I'm going to call it Life of Luke, okay? So it's going to be like, not like a vlog channel, because I'm not into like, you know, I'm not going to do like the whole, hey guys, what's poppin', keep dubbing on them haters. Like, I'm not going to do one of the, I'm like, you know, you guys aren't going to be like the luke.kidgellers or the kidgellites, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's no name for like my fans or whatever. It's just, I just wanted to put out more content pretty much for you guys. So I thought I might just start filming some of the stuff that I'm doing. It'd pretty much be like a documentary of what it's like to be like a D-grade internet comedian in Melbourne. That's pretty much what it would be like. But yeah, so I just think, you know, obviously I won't film me like having breakfast. I hate that shit. Like, I can't stand those vlog people who like, yeah, so today I'm gonna have a green smoothie, and then they just like if I ever get to the point on that channel where I'm filming myself having breakfast, unsubscribe, please. Unless I do it ironically and I do it as a joke, but I don't even think that's very funny. So, yeah, if I ever film myself, like, doing a medial task, then yeah, you don't have to watch that channel anymore. But I'm thinking of, well, I'm not thinking, I've already started making the first couple of videos, and then at the end of every episode of that, I'm going to try and have a little bit of stand-up. Like, I'm going to film my stand-up sets, and then if I do a good bit of crowd work and stuff, I'm going to throw in, I've still got a fair few, like, stand-up bits from the tour. Some of them are, like, shot a little bit out of focus. But, yeah, I'll work it out. It's just going to be like, you know, something different. And that's why I wanted to start a new channel. I didn't want to put it on my normal YouTube channel because I want that to stay with, like, you know, the series that I do, like Brief Music Review and Now Trending Trash and, like, all the sketches and stuff. I wanted to keep, like, all my original stuff and the stuff that I predominantly do on that channel. And then the other channel's more, like, it's not necessarily as funny. I mean, it'll be funny because I'll just be talking shit and it'll be kind of what I'm doing. So I'll be filming, you know, if I'm with Lewis or if I'm filming with Khaled or Elliot, you know, whatever I'm doing in that week. I'll try and put out maybe one thing a week. It mightn't be every week because if I don't do something exciting, like say if I don't do anything exciting for a week, then I'm not going to film it because then, you know, that's boring for you guys. I'm only going to like put out shit when I do exciting stuff. Like I've got some footage from the live podcast that happened last week. So just stuff like that. I just want to start putting out more content for you guys. And let me know if you guys would be interested to watch that. Life of Luke. It's more just like a little documentary channel about the tales of my white boy life. So really, that's what you guys are all... You pretty much listen to it every week. It's just a more condensed and well-edited version of this. So, I think it would be me. Like, I realise now, say if I had to film one this week, it would have been me going to the post office, getting bullied, and then coming home and bawling my eyes out. Now I'm starting to reconsider, is this worth me starting a second channel for? Just watching my life cripple for no reason, just because I'm a sook. Anyway, I got to answer some questions, and then I'll go... because we're nearing near the end of the podcast. Nearing near the end. God, I say some retarded shit sometimes. So I'm just finding the question. Alright, this one's from Zach. I'll just probably answer this one this week. And then, yeah, keep on sending in questions as well, guys. I haven't had as many questions from people just because the Peter Pigeon thing's been going on. Like, I've had heaps of correspondence, but it's just pictures of fat birds. But now we've already got the interview, and obviously, after this question, I'll decide if I'm going to release it or not. Well, yeah, we'll just wait till after the question. Alright, the first question is from Zachary. It says, "Hi Luke, I just thought I'd say Sunday was honestly the most fucked up thing I've ever seen, but it was fantastic. My friend and I could barely hold it together. Can't believe we got to see Peter. What a legend." See, this is what I mean. Peter came and... it was unreal. Zachary, I'm so glad that you got to share in that experience. It's a once in a lifetime thing that happened, and I'm still can't get over it. I'm still reeling over the glory and the triumph of, I just anyway. It was unbelievable. Also, I thought I'd say the podcast is the best. Literally the only podcast I listen to besides Lewis Spears's. I tried listening to it with my mate in the car while driving home from the Comics Lounge, but had to change it over because we almost died a few times because we were laughing so much and couldn't concentrate on the road. Wow, that's quite a compliment. Yeah, almost killing someone is the biggest compliment you can get as a comedian. I mean, one time I made a lady spill her drink on herself, but almost running someone off the road in laughter, I'm very proud of that, so thank you. I'm glad you pulled over though. Oh no, you didn't pull over, you just had to turn it off. Next time, just pull over and listen. He said, "Here are a few questions for the podcast," but he's only included 2. So maybe you should have said, "Here's a couple of questions for the podcast." Zachary, correct grammar is appreciated when, doing correspondence. Although, I don't even know how to pronounce correspondence. I feel like I'm doing that wrong. Anyway, question number 1. What are your thoughts on Jerry Seinfeld and Tim Minchin? That's a good question. I like both. I am a big fan of both. Probably more of a fan of Tim Minchin, just because I've watched I've been following his career of late since he's been writing the musicals and stuff. He's currently writing Broadway shows, but he has a great documentary I think it's called Rock and Roll Nerd, and it shows it's awesome, man. It's before I did my first comedy festival show, I watched this, and it was a documentary of pretty much how he was really poor. He had no money. He had a kid on the way and a wife, and he was still trying to pursue comedy, and it was his last-ditch attempt to make something of himself. So he did the Melbourne International Comedy Festival for the very first time, and it was really cool watching it from my perspective, because I was like, shit, this is what I'm about to do. And he was doing something quite different. He was doing like musical comedy. If you don't know who Tim Minchin is, he's the ginger guy who's kind of like the emo-looking thing. Look, Google him. He's great. Now he played Judas in the production of Jesus Christ Superstar. He's like a super big Broadway singer now. But he started off in comedy and musical comedy, and he did this kind of cabaret comedy theatre show that was great and was getting awesome reviews. But the first few nights he wasn't getting many people coming. And it was just awesome watching someone who's now so successful eat shit. And it made me feel better about myself. And then he gets discovered by one of the producers from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and gets asked to do the Fringe Festival over there. So he goes over a couple of months later, which is about now. So he goes over in like August and does the Fringe Festival in the documentary. And the documentary shot over about a year. And then he ends up getting nominated and I think winning Best Show at both Melbourne Comedy Festival and Edinburgh, and it's super cool. It's like watching a really big success story. But I'd recommend anyone watch that documentary. I think it might be on YouTube. Just Google Rock and Roll Nerd Tim Minchin. I definitely recommend, especially if you're thinking about doing comedy yourself. I often get a fair few emails about people wanting to start comedy, getting a bit inspired. So that would be one to watch, Rock and Roll Nerd by Tim Minchin. And my thoughts on Jerry Seinfeld. He's great. He's the king. How can you not like Jerry Seinfeld? The show was great. I think his stand-up's great. I mean, I don't watch him all the time, and he's not necessarily like my favorite. But I totally get the appeal and totally get why other people love him. He's clean. He's clever. He's very word perfect. Like if you notice if you watch, I've watched a few things with him. I watch his show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and they often talk about writing the structure of the jokes and how it's sometimes saying less is more. Like if you can cut out a couple of words in your joke, then it makes that punch stronger and more concise. And I've learned a lot from Jerry Seinfeld. I think he's awesome. So those are my thoughts on Jerry Seinfeld and Tim Minchin. Zachary, I'm just gonna call you Zach. I feel like I'm your mum getting mad at you. Like, I feel like you've done something wrong, and I'm like, that's the answer to your question, Zachary. Come downstairs, Zachary, and I'll answer your question. So I'm just going to call you Zach from now on. So Zach's second question is, has there ever been a moment during your show where you've been abused by an audience member to the point where it's really upset you? No. I never get upset, man. I've got a pretty thick skin, and not even that, I'm pretty chill and easygoing. I joke about that I get angry and stuff. That's the thing, I get angry at stupid shit. I don't get angry at stuff that I should get angry at. Like, say if someone threw something at me on stage, I'd be kind of mad at first, and then I'd probably think it's really funny afterwards. No one do that, by the way, to show. I'll belt the shit out of you. But I'd be mad and then I'd be like, well, at least it's a funny story kind of thing. But I feel like, little shit having to buy a $30 adapter to plug in a USB to my computer, that's what makes me upset. That sets me right off. But someone being rude to me in the audience, I just make fun of him. And the rest of the audience is always on your side, because no one likes a douchebag. It's funny if you're adding to the show and you're heckling, but if you're just being ignorant and abusive, no, the audience hates you. If you're that guy, the audience hates you. So the audience is always on my side. So really, if I'm getting abused, which I have been before, usually the audience is just shut the fuck up to the guy. Sometimes people in the crowd will actually yell, shut up. Not to me, to the dude who's yelling out. And it kind of just does my job for me. But to answer your question, I think I can't even think of a time where I've actually been properly abused with it's not fun or jovial, where someone's actually yelled you suck shit. I mean, I've told a few stories on this podcast where I've had difficult hecklers and I put in the audio, but no one's actually told me to go fuck myself, and I never cried after a show. I think I've just had a pretty good run, and also I've only been doing it for, a couple of years, so I think maybe my shitty story hasn't happened yet, and you know what, next week I might get on stage and someone might run at me with a knife, and I'll continue answering your question next week. I think I'd be upset if someone tried to grenade bomb the stage, or if someone, set up a mortar bomb, with the coordinates set on the microphone. That would make me angry, and that's quite abusive. So, but yeah, nothing too serious, Zach. He said, once again, great podcast, great live podcast on Sunday. Keep up the great work, Zach. Oh, so he signed it off as Zach, so his name's Zach. Awesome. Thank you very much for coming to the live podcast last Sunday, Zach. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, and more importantly, I'm glad you got to witness Peter in the flesh. That's the end of the podcast, guys. Thank you all very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the new videos this week on my channel. Next week will be the guest podcast with Dom from Collective Noun. That was really fun, and he's a really cool dude, and I pretty much lived out my dreams of pretending I was it was in a proper radio studio, like the proper stereo ones, and I pretty much, it'll be the most well-recorded podcast you'll ever hear. At least on this podcast anyway. It was professional mics and stuff. So that was really fun. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time. But you guys will listen to me next week. But anyway, whatever. Oh wait, I almost forgot. I have the Peter Pigeon interview to address. And I'm holding it here on a USB. On a USB stick, the interview is right here. And all I'd have to do is plug it in to my computer, put it in, drop it in the podcast, and then you guys could hear it. But the big question is the world ready for such greatness? And you know what? I think yes. I genuinely think yes. So, you know what? Let's plug in the USB to the computer right now. I've got to plug in. Oh, wait. I can't, can I? Because Apple didn't put a USB in my computer, and I've already plugged my USB adapter cord into the microphone. Sorry guys, that's not my fault, it's Apple's fault. So, the reason why you didn't hear the Peter Pigeon interview this week, not my fault, Steve Jobs, blame that dude. Alright, go to his grave and tell him off and say, you know what, he probably did this on purpose, because he probably wants to be one of the most influential people of all time, but he knew that as soon as Peter Pigeon's interview gets out into the world, that he'd be old news, that, no one would care about some dude who made a multi-billion-dollar company when there's a girthy bird dropping truth bombs on some Australian podcast, and you know what, I don't blame him. He was scared, and I'm sure it was Steve Jobs' dying wish, going, we must make Thunderbolt cables and only Thunderbolt cables on the new MacBook Pro. And then all the staff would have been like, that's ridiculous. We've got to put USB cords. Everyone will hate us. And he's like, yes, that is true. But people will keep buying our shit because they are white and they are dickheads. And also, there's going to be this podcast, and then he explained the whole pit. Yep, so that's right. I'm not going to go into it, but sorry guys, I was about to plug in the USB and show you all the best interview of my life and the best interview I've ever heard. But yeah, I can't plug it in because I'm just looking now. There are no USB inputs on a thing that I spent my life savings on to put USB inputs in, because Apple are corporate sacks of shit. So, you know what? Sorry guys, Steve Jobs' fault, not mine. Go complain. Actually, that's what you can do. Send in your complaints to Apple, not this podcast, because it's not my fault. Again, I wanted to play the interview. I've got the interview right here, but it's physically impossible because Apple suck. So, but yet I will keep buying their shit forever because I'm a slave to capitalism. Alright, that's the end of the podcast, guys. I'm really sorry I can't play the interview. Again, I cannot stress enough. Not my fault. Oh, so frustrating. Anyway, maybe next week the time will be right to release the interview. Next week, I'm going to have to organize 2 USB adapters. That's another $30. And then I'm going to have to prove to my bank that oh, there's been a purchase that you can't afford again. You gave another $30 to Apple. You already gave $30 to Apple. Is this a fraudulent? I'm going to have to prove to my bank that I'm such a dickhead that I'd buy 2 of these stupid adapters. Oh, man. All right, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you all very much for listening. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Keep buying the merch on the website so I can drive double the distance to go post it, because I don't have to be bullied like a fucking... Oh, I'm pathetic. Anyway, have a good week. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Hi, sorry, I'm back. It's not the end of the podcast yet. I finished recording it a couple of hours ago, but realized I forgot to talk about something. I even, exported the file and started uploading it. I'm such an idiot. That is such a Hufflepuff thing to do. Anyway, see, this is why I get sorted into the shit houses, because I do Hufflepuff shit. Anyway... I forgot to talk about the EBWTF Fat Bird Shaming t-shirts that are going towards Tisha's brain cancer fund. By the way, you guys have raised way more money during the week, which is insanely cool. So thank you so much to everyone who's donated to that. Emily's thrilled. I'm sure the family will be thrilled, and I am too. You guys are very generous. So yeah, I think we've almost raised over $300, and that's not including the t-shirt orders as well, because I haven't processed them yet. Here's the deal with the t-shirts. If we sell 27 more t-shirts, or if you guys buy 27 more t-shirts, then I can get the bulk order, which is way cheaper and therefore way more money goes to Tisha's brain cancer fund. So yeah, if you've been contemplating getting one of the t-shirts or not, I'd love it if you did, because I also want one too, to be honest. I just want something to commemorate and to remember the time in my life where I was a part of and I partook in one of the shittest, I would say longest, convoluted, shittest yet best in-jokes I've ever seen develop in my life. And look, I was kind of the instigator, but not really. I mean, I just talked about the fat bird thing once, and then, you guys started sending me pictures, and it just caught fire, and then I really just didn't have to do a lot from there on. It was all you guys, so I just want to be, remember that time in my life. So yeah, if I could get a shit meme t-shirt out of it, that'd be great. So yeah, if we sold 27 more, then I could get the bulk order. That'd be awesome. You can get the t-shirts on my website at www.luke.kidgell.com. You'll see the link for the merch. It's just up there. And you'll also see the design, which I think is really cool. It was done by Joe Waldron, who is a listener of this podcast and a part of the Fatbird community, just like everyone is. And what the design is, it's a cartoon guy yelling shame through a megaphone at a fat bird that's kind of perped up in a tree, and that's going to be on the back of the t-shirt. And on the front is this cool little logo that just says EBWTF for Elite Birdwatching Task Force, but everyone else will think it's EB what the fuck. I mean, it's definitely one of those t-shirts that you're going to have to explain every time you wear it. People are going to be like, hey, what does EBWTF stand for? And you can do 2 things. You can either pretend it's some skate, punk rock skate clothing brand, and yeah, it's my mate's indie clothing brand, or you can be honest and say it stands for the Elite Birdwatching Task Force. And you know what, I'd probably go with number 2, because it's almost bragging rights. People are going to be like, no way, you're not part of the EBWTF. And you're like, well, I am. So, you know what, yeah, buy it for the bragging rights. Also, if your mate gets easily embarrassed, buy it as a burden to your friends. Either way, it goes to a great cause. It's up on my website. 27 more, guys. If you guys buy 27 more during the week, then we get the bulk order, and it's going to raise a hell of a lot more money. So, yeah, thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.